So far we have demonstrated and explained the three components of HTML element, namely contents, layout and script. In this section, we shall explain how each component generates its own hash code, often abbreviated as simply hash, and how each component hash can be associated with another hash code representing its owner, thereby defining the ownership of the component. What you have heard in the past 1 minute are made up of fundamental topics about hash code that most computer science students would have studied in the first year in the undergraduate university course. But the conclusion may be challenging to the most experienced intellectual property lawyers, which we shall repeat here, that associating the component hash code with another hash code representing its owner defines the ownership of the component. That last sentence is perhaps the most important lesson in this video and will be the groundbreaking foundation for use to build Omni Digital Asset Exchange platform. So it is worth repeating for the third time. Associating the component hash code with another hash code representing its owner defines the ownership of the component. Let us look at an example of ownership JSON as shown in line 10. This is the output copied from Firefox browser console, for variable JB. Line 14 shows the owner's hash of public key. Line 15 is the nickname of the owner Adam. Line 16 is string which Adam claims to own. Line 17 is hash of the string in line 16. Now we shall demonstrate how to obtain the hash of public key for user Adam, which in turn will be used in the ownership JSON shown earlier. Firstly, open Omni's GitHub page at the address as shown, namely omnixtor.github.io/oaxw. Secondly, you will see a row of 3 green buttons. From the left, the first one labeled I2P for Invisible Internet Project, the second labeled Firefox and grok, and the third labeled Chrome and grok. We click the second button for Firefox browser using and grok tunnel. The OmniStar web login page has 3 pop-up windows at the bottom right. At the bottom left are several JavaScript functions to hide and move the pop-up windows. Copy the third line for hiding the window. Press F12 to open the browser console. Paste the copied function in the browser console. Move the cursor to edit the index in the square bracket. Change the number 1 to 0. Press Enter. This will hide the window buried below the windows with yellow buttons labeled D as C and Adam. Press up arrow to recall the last command. Change the index in the square bracket to 2 and press Enter. This will hide the pop-up window with the yellow button labeled D as C. Press up arrow again to recall the last command. Change the index in the square bracket to 1 and change the word display to bottom and replace none with 100 pt. This will move the pop-up window with the yellow button labeled Adam vertically upwards by 100 points. Repeat the previous step but change the word bottom to right and change the target values to 0 pt. This will move the window to the very right edge of the screen. Now we are ready to check the user authentication function by clicking the IUT button. The alert window shows null result as the user's private key and public key has not been loaded. The user's private key and public key can be generated by press the Gen Keys button. Press the IUT button again. The alert window will show long string labeled PBK meaning public key. Finally, enter my hash space (:) and press the yellow Adam button. The server will generate the hash of public key and it is shown as the string in the last line after graph/d meta/. Namely a gen zri9 and odq ==. We have looked at how ownership JSON can be defined for contents in a JSON string containing information of name, phone and email. We shall now look at how to define JSON ownership for code before finally doing it for layout. Line 3 as shown consists of the code to extract HTML elements with ID attribute and fill them with values in the given JSON object. While this line of code is not optimized, we shall just hash it for now and discuss related issues later. Line 10 shows the hash of the owner whose nickname Donald is shown in line 11. The command in line 3 is copied to line 12 as the string to hash and its hash is shown in line 13. So this forms the ownership JSON for the code in line 3. Finally, to obtain the layout component of the web page, we need to obtain the full HTML code of document.body. We will just propose a simple format, namely platform_ID such as omni_name as dummy values for HTML layout code. When HTML was invented, we suspect the separation of ownerships was not explicitly included as a design principle. However, since every element is labeled with a tag and users may define additional attributes, ownership properties can be included easily, but just like most standardization efforts, no one will know for sure how much standardization dramas will this initiate. It turns out that it is not so straightforward to properly isolate layout code from HTML elements. It seems that even the plainest HTML templates from freecss.com are already polluted by unwanted JavaScript code, where the document body object is being constantly modified by at least one JavaScript function targeting CSS style translate 3D parameter. We will just demonstrate the change of outer HTML code of document body using the hash code functions bn to b64 and cyrb53. Note that we calculate the hash code of document body outer HTML and every few seconds and they change continuously. As such, the safest solution is to reload the source HTML file into a separate document object model or DOM variable. The fetch function as shown in line 34 loads the index.html file and save the results in variable as edge0. In line 44, the contents of as edge0 are parsed and stored in variable HTML DOM. HTML DOM now has similar properties as variable document. Line 46 shows how child nodes of HTML DOM can be accessed and displayed. The second step is to copy the ID attributes from document body to the new DOM variable. Recall earlier we manually added the ID attributes to the HTML elements which we selected using right-click. However, we cannot do this to HTML DOM as it does not have a graphical user interface like the default document variable. So what we need to do is to copy the XPath of the ID element, and use this XPath to access the target element in HTML DOM, and add the ID attribute. These actions are accomplished by running the code at line 48 for ID name, line 49 being the XPath, line 52 obtains the target node within HTML DOM, line 56 add the attribute ID name to the target node. The same is repeated at line 60 for ID phone, and line 65 for ID email. Finally, all script elements are removed with the code shown in line 84. Here we remove one script element at a time manually in order to show viewers additional details. Experienced programmers may write a loop or JavaScript map function to accomplish the same. In the end, we have clean HTML layout code free of contents data and JavaScript code, which can use to generate a hash code to identify its ownership. We verify this using the hash code functions bn to b64 and cyrb53, using HTML DOM outer HTML as the input. See that we do this several times over more than 10 seconds and the hash code remains constant, namely cflgguq1 meter width ==